In this video I'm going to take a look at the comments in a particular video on my YouTube channel. The video has to do with what I saw as the ironies in Van Morrison protesting now, writing protest songs about the restrictions arising from the attempt to combat the spread of COVID-19 and the coronavirus and so on. So some of the comments are, quite frankly, valid. Some of them are absolutely nonsensical. Some of them are based on lies and misinformation. And I just want to have a quick look at the comments to see exactly what we are dealing with when it comes to misinformation. First comment I'm just going to make a brief comment about is I can't recall ever seeing a more mean-spirited video. At what point in your life did your soul shrivel up and die? My soul hasn't shriveled up and died. I have simply made a video pointing out the irony of Van Morrison coming from where he came from and now making a video or making protest songs about the obligation to prevent his spittle infecting other people and other people, causing him an early and unfortunate and premature and avoidable death. Well done, Van Morrison, for sticking up for freedom and seeing the fascism that's taking shape around the world. Some people can't see past their nose. The fascism that's taking place around the world may or may not be a piece of hyperbole or exaggeration, but being asked to wear a mask when you go to the shop or when you go to shopping centre or out and about to prevent your neighbours and friends and other citizens contracting a disease or a virus which is going to cause serious difficulties for many people, because we see the numbers, real people dying, is not fascism. In fact, I would love to see somebody like you who views that as fascism actually living in a fascist society, in a fascist state. Another fella is on there about the reason is that I believe in lockdowns and all the insane measures such as mandatory mask wearing that have been imposed. I believe in trying to follow the best medical advice, the best medical evidence, because I, like you, am not a medical person, and therefore I rely on the advice from the medical people. And if their advice is to wear masks and to wash hands and to maintain 2 meters of a social distance, well then I feel obliged to do so, because I think it's the smart thing to do. You might have a better idea, but I doubt it very much. And the difference between your idea and the medical people's idea is that the medical people's idea is based on evidence and experience and training. Same fella, Anthony Quinn, makes the point that I wonder if he worked on a 6 to 8 hour shifts in a store or wherever, would he be so keen on wearing a mask? No, I am not keen on wearing a mask, but I believe in doing the right thing. It's not a lifestyle choice to wear a mask. It's not something that I enjoy or want to do. However, it's a sensible thing to do. It's a bit like me refusing to jump into a river or the sea, having regard for the fact that I can't swim. You know, I'd love to be able to jump into the sea or a river, but I can't swim, so I'm going to drown. I'm not going to do it. Likewise, I don't wish to wear a mask all day. I don't like wearing a mask, but that doesn't mean that I do everything like a child that I want to do. Sometimes we have to do things that are unpleasant. Sometimes we have to do things that are in the interests of the greater good of society. Another fella there is saying he wouldn't understand you, Anthony. A mask is little more than a virtue signal and a compliance test. And anyway, how could one speak out about anything if one is wearing a mask? Well, firstly, I'm speaking out about this particular instance of what I view is an absurdity on behalf of Van Morrison, and secondly, the person that's making that comment is hiding behind a picture of a mask and a fake or false pseudonym on YouTube. So more luck to him, he's entitled to do that if he wants to, but it does degrade somewhat the credibility of what he has to say, in my view. Because if you're not prepared to speak plain and openly and put your balls on the line, quite frankly, when it comes to having an opinion, then there has to be a certain degree of resistance to accepting what you have to say. But anyway, the notion that a mask is little more than a virtue signal and a compliance test is patent nonsense. It is the medical evidence. Another guy there, Derek T, describes himself as a concerned Irish citizen, and he describes me as a typical liberal left. Well, I'll certainly plead guilty to being liberal. Describing me as left or describing me as a communist, which some people have done in other comments, is laughable nonsense. I've been a self-employed business person since 1986, so I don't actually have much of a pedigree for being a communist. But describing me as a liberal, sure, I believe in liberal values and I believe in living in a liberal democracy, but I also believe in living in a way that doesn't harm my neighbours. And if the medical evidence is not to harm my neighbours, the best thing to do is to wear the mask and keep washing their hands and maintain a 2 metre social distance. Well, then that's what I'll do. And if that constitutes being a liberal, yeah, I'm a liberal. Another fellow makes the point there that both the CDC and the Italians have come out and revised their numbers of purely COVID-related deaths by over 90%. It's just the flu that the governments of the world are using to restrict your freedoms. Even Van gets it. When will the rest of you wake up to the fact? So here's a fella claiming that the governments of the world are using this to restrict your freedoms. This is more of that conspiracy theory nonsense, quite frankly. And same fella, Derek T, makes the point that I suppose you'd be okay if it was the EU flag or the LGBT flag that was being waved rather than the national flag, because I was given out about the tricolour being waved at anti-mask, anti-restrictions protests. And of course this fella Derek T clearly has an issue with somebody being a supporter of the EU and being a supporter of LGBT rights, but that's a matter for Derek T. Yeah, he says here, if it was the EU / rainbow flag, the radical left would not have a problem. We were patriots. Well, you can be a patriot and you can also be a supporter of the EU, and you can also be a supporter of LGBT rights, and you can also be a supporter of all sorts of other non-nationalist views and situations. Anyway, they're just some comments that I've come across on the Van Morrison video. You can have a look at it on YouTube there yourself. But basically some of these comments are good examples of misinformation and claims and spurious claims about all sorts of attempts by people, by the Fianna Fáil, by Fine Gael, by the governments of the world, by whoever, you name it, what have you got, to control you and to bring some form of tyranny. All you're being asked to do is wear the fucking mask to SuperValu. So anyway, hope you like this video.